Thanks for everybody for coming. My name's Jeff. I'm with Shark. So I'm going to show you how to register your badge, how to release print jobs, how to scan now. You have the ability to scan to your email or scan to your Google Drive. I'll show you some of the copier features as well. And then printing, being able to print release and walk to any machine. So when you first walk up to the machine now, they're all going to be locked down with this screen. This is a little bit larger machine. The one over there is a little bit smaller. That's, I think, 40 pages a minute. This one's 75 pages a minute, so you want to use this one if you got a big job. But you can still come in and do small jobs real easily. But the screens are identical, and the way they operate are identical. When you walk in, you're going to use your badge now to log in. If you forget your badge, you can always use your timekeeper number by typing in the ID number. The first time you walk in and to use your badge, it's not going to recognize it. It's going to, you're going to swipe here, and it will come up and it'll prompt you and says, "Hey, I don't recognize this badge. Please enter in your Active Directory credentials." Those are the same credentials you use for your, I think it's for your internet or intranet, to access your intranet or get your forms within Harnett County schools.
Old staff pages.
What's that?
The staff pages.
Staff pages, okay, yeah, perfect. So that you'll enter those credentials in, and it will register your badge within the system. And then you'll come back and you'll swipe your badge again. And the way you can know is in the top right-hand corner, it should have your name when you badge in. When you print a job, well, let me go here. When you first log in, you're going to see three buttons. You're going to see print release, access the device, that's your copier, and then a scan button. You have the ability to scan now, like I said. The print release, you're going to have two new print drivers, print cues on your PCs or your MacBooks. One's secure black and white color, or secure black and white, and the other is secure color. And you can print accordingly. All four of these are black and white machines. There is one color machine up at the office that you're allowed to use. There's going to be a quota now. I don't know what the quotas are. I don't know anything about what the district's doing for that, but there's going to be a quota. I believe the black and white pages are going to be like a penny a page. The color pages are 10 cents a page. So you just, keep that in consideration if you're going to be going up to the office and doing color. So when you print, or when you print to either one of the cues, even if I print to the color cue, I can come into this room right here where there's only black and white machines, and I'll still be able to release my jobs. Badge in, it'll tell me at the top, I've got 6 jobs that are a total of 36 pages. But when I go to print release, I'll actually see all of my jobs in the queue. Nobody else's jobs, but only mine. So I could have several jobs in here that I've waited till the end of the day. But maybe I got a job in there that there's a new version. I got 2 jobs in there that are the same, but I only need the new version. Just leave the old version in there. They'll delete after 24 hours. So if you don't retrieve your jobs within 24 hours, they're going to delete. And that's a paper savings, because sometimes we do print and we don't pick them up, or maybe it's something I don't need, or it's an old version, I got a newer version now. So it's just a way to hopefully save paper, save charges, click charges for the district. So just select the jobs that you need, and then there's a print button at the bottom right. And those jobs will print out while you're here. It's also adds security. I'm standing here when the jobs come out if you do have something that's confidential. Also, you don't have to worry about somebody coming and taking my job. I print it and I got to race down here and get it before somebody walks off with it by accident because it's in the tray. So that's going to be eliminated as well. So I would select my jobs. If I did send something to color and I'm at the color machine and maybe, hey, I don't need it in color, there's going to be a button at the bottom that's going to say grayscale. And then it's going to tell me at the top how many. After I select the jobs, it's going to tell me how much that's going to cost me to print this out at the top. But if I say grayscale, everything's going to be grayscale. If something's color, you'll see that savings as well. So you're just trying to save some money and save some of your quota also. But just select the print job at the bottom or print button at the bottom. Your jobs will come out while you're standing here. They're all pretty fast machines. Like I said, that one's 40 pages a minute. This one's 75 pages a minute. You really shouldn't have to wait long unless you're running a really, really large job. So that's it for the print queue and releasing print jobs. Any questions on that? Anything that wants some?
So you said once we put in our credentials, from then on, all we have to do is swipe the badge.
Yes, ma'am. You come up here and you swipe your badge, and you'll see your jobs. You go to print release and you'll see your jobs. It's really that easy. It's just a one-time registration of your badge. If you get a new badge, you lose your badge and they give you a new one, you'll come in and you'll badge in, it's gonna be the same thing. It's gonna say, I don't
So
recognize it.
we're able, from our classroom now, online, we're able to send a job here. Is it
Right.
automatically gonna recognize this new
It is.
machine, or?
What you're doing is you're sending it to really the server, to the cloud. And then you can walk to any machine and release your job.
Okay.
It doesn't, you're not sending it to this job, this printer to print. You're sending it to a cloud, and I'm walking up to the machine to release it and say, I'm standing here, send the job to this machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, even within the district too. Let's say you're down at the administrative building or another school, you can release it. Now, we are tracking though, and it's gonna bill back to you or your school because of your badge.
Yeah.
So if you see somebody else come in here and use their badge, you know, I know some people that travel around from school to school, it's gonna bill back to their department.
Where do we see it work?
And you can register at any machine too. It doesn't have to be this machine right here. So you can walk up to any machine and give that a try.
Nobody's gonna need.
So
How many machines do we have in this building?
you've got 5 in this building.
The new
4 in
ones?
here, 4, yes,
Wow.
correct. So also when you badge in, the next button over is your access device. That's going to be your copier features. I'm going to skip over that one. I'm going to scan because this is a new feature that, from what I understand, a lot of schools did not have the ability to scan. Scan to your email and then scan to your Google Drive are the 2 buttons that show up. So if I select scan to my email, because you're badging in, we know who you are, your email address is going to automatically populate in the field. There are a couple fields that you can rename. So I want to name this file. I can go to File Name and rename the file name. And it's really different when you're upside down. And then I got a little soft keyboard, but there's also a hard keyboard underneath all of
That's
the,
so
all of the
cool.
screens
Yeah.
that we can.
I feel so fancy now.
So we can name the file. And then on the right-hand side, it has color PDF, one-sided. If I say change settings, I can maybe have my originals are 2-sided, and I want to scan both sides. Or I want to make this a JPEG because I'm scanning a photograph on the glass, and it'll make it a JPEG and send it to my email.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we still able to sort and state?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll get to that, to the
Okay.
copier second.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the bottom right is your start button. So you say start, it's going to start your feeder up and scan it and send it to your email address.
Will it scan, if you have a color document, will it scan the color, like?
Absolutely. Even the black and white machines scan in color. There's no click charges for scanning color, black and white, nothing. You don't get, it doesn't come off your quota, so you can scan as much as you want. In the top left is an arrow button that takes you back a screen. I'm gonna go back a couple screens and scan to Google Drive is the other selection. It looks the same as scanned email as far as the interface. On the right-hand side, it's defaulted to color, a PDF, so I can make those same selections here. On the right-hand side, it's going to go to your Google Drive. So I'm assuming everybody's kind of using their Google Drive, storing documents in there. So the goal here is to kind of try to save some steps. Instead of sending it to your email address and then pulling it over, just send it right to your Google Drive. It's going to create a folder that's called Scans for Papercut MF within your Google Drive. And this is where everything's going to get dropped when it gets scanned. And you can also change the file name here as well. So I can select that and start to type in and change the file name. The very first time you're going to scan to your Google Drive, you're going to get an email that's asking you to prompt for your Google authentication. All you're doing is you're saying, hey, all of these Sharp devices, I'm giving them permission to scan to my Google Drive. So you're going to have to type in your Google password and email address. And then you're just authenticating these guys to scan. It's only a one-time message. And then once that's done, everything will go into the Google Drive. So we can back out. There's a little home button in the top left. This is kind of takes you back to your main 3 screens. So the last button on the screens is the access device. This is your copier. So if we select that, they've decided to put in a screen here that gives you your quota amount. So you're going to have a quota amount. I don't know, like I said, whether it's going to be monthly, quarterly, how they're going to do that yet. But this is where you're going to see your balance. is what will show up on this screen. I'm an admin, so it doesn't show up here, but it just shows your balance, and then you can say access device, and it takes you into the copier. And then once you get to the copier, there's a couple shortcut buttons that we added here that kind of take you back. One takes you back to print release, so you can release jobs. Maybe there's something there I forgot I got to go back to, or scans. You know, maybe I made some copies, and then now I need to go to my scans and do some scanning of some documents. But if I go to copy, this is where you're going to find all your copier features when you walk up to the machine. So I've got my originals in the feeder. Say nothing's rocket science about copying as far as changing from manufacturer to manufacturer. They're all kind of the same. But we're going to put them in the feeder. I can select the number of pages or number of copies I want. And on the left-hand side, this is where you're going to see your frequently used features. Now, there's a lot more than this. We could go into quite a bit of detail, but on the left-hand side, these are the mostly used features where we're going to have our original size. It's going to auto-detect my paper select. It's going to automatically select the right tray, just like all the other machines. If I've got 8.5 by 11, it's going to pull 8.5 by 11. But this is if I want, maybe I've got some cardstock I want to put in the bypass tray. There's a bypass tray on the machines. And then I can say, you know, the bypass tray. And then I can also say, you know, the heavyweight paper. If I put some cardstock in there that's heavy, I want to change that. When I say the bypass tray, maybe I want to go heavy 1 because I got something that's a little thicker. It's going to run good for you. Then we've also got one-sided, two-sided. You know, are my originals one-sided or two-sided? Do I want to scan both sides? Do I want my output to be one-sided or two-sided? And then copy ratio, enlarge and reduction. We can do that as well. If you go down to output, with your question about the stapling, we're talking about output now, right? What comes out of the device. There is a staple button there, and it has 2 staple modes, 1 staple or 2 staple. It'll do 1 staple in the top left, and it'll do 2 staples on the left. But there's a new feature that's unique to Sharp. It's what we call staple to staple, and it's a crimp on the top left hand. So there's no need for a staple because staples are not part of the contract. And the schools have to pay for staples. So it will crimp up to 5 pages. So if I say staple to staple, we'll say, okay, I've got a number of copies.
Staple to staple.
Staple to staple. It's just a nice crimp in the top left-hand corner. And then while I'm doing this, I'm going to show you another feature to help maybe save some clicks, to maybe proof your documents before they actually output. There is a preview button above the copy button, the start button. If I say preview, I've already made some selection of this, staple to staple, but nothing's going to come out because I'm going to preview this on the screen before it actually outputs. And I can scroll through the pages. I can make sure they're not skewed. They look good. I've got 5 pages. Maybe there's an extra page in here that I didn't need, or there's an edit button, the very bottom left button. If I select edit, I can select page. Maybe this page right here is upside down. I can actually rotate that page around. So that I don't need, I can actually take that and drag that to the trash can. So now I've got 4 pages in my document. I can't take anything out of the trash can. If I want to do it, I got to go through and just select the preview, scan everything again in preview. But also, if there's ever a need to white anything out on a page, so you don't have to use a little white sheet of paper and tape it on there.
Yeah.
So I can select the page. I can say at the top right, erase specified range. Where I can select which page I want to do that on. And if it's this page right here, I can select a spot. This is my start point. That's my end point. I usually just put something on the screen, and then you can actually take it and you can move it around and make it larger, make it smaller. And then we say execute, which then turns it red. I can do up to 4 of these on one page. And we'll say exit, we'll end the edit session, and we'll start. And so that'll be whited out, and we should have a crimp on the page as well. So we've got a nice big white, and then you'll see the crimp in the top left. The crimping does up to 5 pages, like I said. I just want to make sure. But that could be 10 pages if you're doing two-sided.
Cool.
Get a close up of that print.
Okay.
There is a feature that schools do use. It's called N up, where I can take 4 of my pages or 2 of my pages and put it on one page so that it will be in quadrants. So it saves you some of those page charges, those click charges, right? This larger machine does not have that ability, but that one does. The smaller ones do. And what you'll do is when you go into copier, and down at the bottom it has other. You know, on the left-hand side is where all your features are, but if you go to the bottom, you go to other. This is where you're going to find all the features. And there's a slew of them in here. And you're going to see one that's called N up. And then you get a selection between 2 up, 4 up, or 8 up. And it just takes 4 pages. So if I had 8 pages, I could put that on just 2 pages in those quadrants. Or if that's too small and you can't quite read the text on there, maybe a 2 up. But again, it saves you, you know, some click charges on that.
Thank you.
Sure. To the copier screen with access device. So once you get here and you go to copy, you have the left side's your features. At the very bottom it says others. And that's where you're going to see, I mean, there's just all kinds of blank page skip. Where if there's something that a blank page skip, if I've got some blank pages in between. And I want to, you know, I'm scanning. Actually, it's only going to be for copy mode on this particular one. But I don't want those pages to make copies. You know, I can remove all the blank pages. There's all kinds of features in there. This machine right here has a large capacity tray on the top, 8.5 by 11 only on both sides. The 2 bottom trays are what we call universal trays. You can adjust them to the size, 11 by 17, 8.5 by 14. Just like all the smaller ones, there are universal trays on those. There's 4 of those trays on that device. So the pages on both machines actually come out. They come out to the right and they come up the right side. So you will see a couple access points on the right-hand side to just kind of look for paper as it comes up, and then it will come across a paper path to the finisher through here on this machine. So you might see something there, and then there's also within the finisher, you can look it up right there.
What's the policy at the school if
Don't
there's, like,
touch.
you let one?
The little cover, this is a little finisher, that's the external finisher, but this is an internal finisher. You'll see a green button or green lever, and you might see something as far as it comes up the side and goes across the paper path into the finisher. But there are images that show up on the screen, where to check, where to look. And that's kind of a lot of what I got.
So you can log in using your ID number, you type in your timekeeper number, and then up comes your information. Excellent. Awesome.